Good morning and welcome to the CADclass podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
And each week we talk all things 3D printing, making. I don't know. What do we talk about, Jake? We talk about the cool stuff you guys make.
A lot of stuff, especially me being sick, which is still going on. Thank you very much
for a recurring theme these days.
It is a recurring theme, annoyingly. Thank you very much for all the well wishes last week, everyone. But yeah, I think it's going to be about a week, a few more days until I'm back in fighting shape.
We've got this guy on antibiotics. You know, he took off work to go to the doctor. Like, what kind of enterprise are we actually running here? Good morning in the chat. I saw printed by John over a half an hour early, and we've gotten some amazing stuff, right? So printed by John, PC Van Vliet. Let's see. I saw Spitfire Dairy. We saw Cadence. Sam, Maple Leaf Makers.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh man, it's on fire. And we've gotten so many comments coming into the Discord every week. We say it. PC Van Fleet, Joe Stree, all the folks that are helping moderate Sam. Right, you guys rock. I'm loving all of the activity in the Discord, just up and up and up. So,
as always, a lot of appreciation to our community, especially our moderator faces.
Thank you.
Rock.
Thank you.
Appreciation.
Jake, let's show off some of the amazing stuff. We had some posts by a bunch of different people.
Josh, your voice sounds so high. Sounds so squeaky through this mic.
My voice sounds squeaky?
Oh, there we go. That's normal.
You know what
for a second.
You know what I don't have? That's bizarre. I don't have the Motive app up right now, so maybe that's part of it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
anyway,
let's get that loaded.
We got a huge amount of stuff going on the Discord. Some new people coming in, posting some really rad projects. As always, stuff that we love to see. I have been busy building stuff over this week. As I've just been a little bit ill, a little bit out of sorts for filming. I've just been getting a bunch of stuff ready for projects that I'm going to be filming in a few days, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And yeah, a ton of CAD to go over. So I think we should start off, as always, going through our Discord, showing off all the amazing stuff that people are working on.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So this week we got a ton. Oh, here we go. More and more people. So what is this? From Jerry. This is a glass-topped table design that I started in high school, but never finished the design. Yeah, I feel that.
I've never done that before.
Fully complete.
Never have I ever. It didn't take me 5 years to finish the wood table.
I was going to say that table in the background is not giving you too much.
I'll tell you though, that was. I'm so happy to have it now. So, anyways,
damn, this is really badass. This is very gothic, very badass.
Love it.
So this is all going to be welded together. That's pretty impressive, actually. I dig that kind of stuff. Not bad, dude. Yeah. Finish it up. Get it done. It always feels good. I have a little side adventure topic. So obviously both Josh and I are makers, hands-on builders our entire lives. And my partner is now saying, "Oh, I want to do some kind of hands-on stuff." And so she's been getting into crocheting and working on this and that. She's bought so many spools of yarn. It's so funny. And I think this is now essentially her first hands-on physical making thing. Like she's done her hair and makeup to like a really high-level artistic level for a long, long time. And that's always been her kind of creative outlet, which we all love to see. That's awesome. And this is her first kind of tangible hands-on stuff. And so she's going through all the motions that I feel on a regular basis with all of my projects, where you get super excited, you start up, you buy all the material, you start to build it, you realize it's actually going to take quite a long time, and then you get the itch for another project. So her first project that she wanted to do is knitting a blanket for my niece, who is going to be arriving in July. And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be 150 stitches by 150 stitches, and it's gonna take me months." I'm like, "Start small." No, going for the moon. And she's now a third of the way through it. She's doing phenomenally well with it, but she is at the official point where she's like, I'm gonna buy some of this purple yarn to knit into like a nice little cute beanie. Like, no, finish the blanket. I'm gonna make you a scarf. So I bought this really kind of nice earth tone. Finish the blanket. And so she's now stockpiling stuff that she hasn't started because I'm like drilling into her. Finish
Oh
the project that you
man.
started. And
Oh
it's so
man.
funny to like see this in someone else for the first time. It it,
I
it feels nice.
yes. I
It
am
feels nice.
right there alongside. So I've started what will become hopefully the espresso build out project, which means I have
Oh yeah.
acquired an espresso machine. And I was actually in bed last night thinking about this very topic. And for some reason, I was thinking about it graphically, like kind of what happens over what period of time as you're making things. Like as we're thinking about building
Okay.
out courses, one of the things that I care a lot about is trying to accurately portray reality. Like too often people come in and they're like, "Oh, learn to make things. It'll be amazing. It'll be fun. You'll have It's like, yeah, it is amazing and it is fun and this is like a big deal. But also you don't realize that there's the spike and then the dip and then
Yeah.
what happens in that dip is usually whether or not you finish the project. Like that dip comes and then how does it trickle back
Yeah.
up and how long does it take? And oh my goodness. So I fully
I
anticipate my
yeah.
excitement levels to kind of do this over time. But
To
I
wait,
think I
you gotta dive into it.
oh
There is a lot to be said about just telling your loved ones in your life, I'm working on a project. I'm literally putting on headphones. I'm shutting the garage door. Do not bother me. I need to go all in on this, and it's going to take me days. Don't bother me. There is something to be said about it because the alternative is it taking weeks of weekends to do, and then it just never gets done,
that's right.
and that sucks. Yeah, I'm very much a kind of balls to the wall, finish the project kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So I feel this. Derriere looks rad.
Amazing.
Uh, a new poster, I think. Is
Printed
this
by
created by
John. I don't know if he's
John?
posted much in the Discord in the past, but yeah, he's in the chat. He was in here over a half an hour early, already talking and interacting. So nice to have you, printed by John. And
Nice to
what are
have
we
you,
looking at here, Jake?
dude. 3D printed hexagon lighting fixtures. I actually really dig these. I do want to make
Yes.
some of those. Nice little gear attachment for the. Is this the Ender 3? Ooh, this is not the SE. I think this is the SE. Yeah.
Is it?
I've seen nothing but amazing prints out of the SE. This is, I think, is Creality is kind of digging some design elements from Prusa and putting it in there. So I know it not, looks nothing like a Prusa hot end, but this has got some of the DNA from it in there. And people are just getting killer
Ender
prints.
3 S1. That is printed by John.
S1.
S1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Killer prints. Really, really dig this printer. Again, some hexagon stuff. Love to see it. Wall art is the thing to do. This, I have tried to make this project so many times and failed. Making an actual macro 3D printed project. Every single time that I try to make it, this massive nozzle ends up snapping from where the filament goes into it. And I'm like, screw this. I'm just going to get a cup and put all my pens in it. That's it. I'm sick of it. So the fact that you finished it, hats off to you, man. Again, another organizer. I think this is the one thing that when you make this for other people, they get so excited by 3D printing. Like you can show them like the most amazing quality prints and they don't care. And as soon as you actually make just something dead simple for them, they get so excited by it. So yeah, little organizers, love it. Little oh gosh, what is that? Planter. Why did I forget that word?
I love planters. I love planters. I think
What design
it's
is
like,
this from? This
I don't
looks
know.
like a band logo. Or when I first saw it, I thought it was like Super Mario villain, but it's not. If someone in the chat knows this, please tell us.
Well, printed by John definitely knows it. He's here.
Cool, yeah. All right, dude. What is that logo?
What
Please tell me,
is
because it
that?
looks like a metal band.
WITL. What is that logo?
3D printed bolt. I will be filming the first installation of the reprinted 3D printer. That's going to be coming out hopefully next week or so. But yeah, 3D printed bolts. I'm going to be going in very, very big depth about all of this because it is a minefield and it will usually, most of the time, give you crappy results unless you watch my video. So very important. Really love that kind of stuff. Going on, dude. And then 3D printed a phone case.
Wow.
This is one of
Look
those things that
how clean that print
I know.
is.
That's a snazzy print. That is a snazzy print. But that's on a textured PEI build plate.
I just love it. Looks great.
I have never, and I mean never, gotten a successful print off of a heavy, coarse textured PEI surface. I feel like it should be the easiest, and I've gotten nothing but bad results from it. So the fact that anyone can get anything off of a rough build plate,
Oh, dude, the phone is 3D printed too.
no, no, it's not. Is it? Oh
Yeah.
my god, it totally is. That's amazing.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. That is
Also,
so cool.
do you remember like in the early days of 3D printing where like Shapeways were showing off all the things that you could have 3D printed for you? And they kept on advertising like different 3D printable home screens. And I was always like, oh, that's pretty rad. I would really love to know, does anyone have a 3D printed phone case? Do you trust a 3D printed phone case?
I
Because
think I would.
I
I think I trust
really,
it. Mhm. Yeah.
unless it was like really bulky. Like obviously this one is a fairly standard, normal, thin frame. Like that makes sense. But I would imagine you'd need to like make it incredibly bulky for it to work at all. But
This reminds me of, did you ever see the No Phone? It was a
no.
spoof, right? And basically these guys created this spoof and it was a literal brick, not a brick, but it was just like the shape of a phone, but it wasn't a phone. It was not functional. And the idea
Okay.
behind the No Phone was to just kind of poke fun at all the phone things, right? And so their whole advertisement was like, basically that it doesn't work, it doesn't do anything, it just sits there. It's like, but the funny thing is like they made a whole marketing campaign around it, and they're like, when you feel the need, what they really tapped into was our phone addiction, right? They're like, when you feel the need to
I was
pull
just
the
going to
phone
say
out of
that
your
actually sounds
pocket
fairly
and you just
reasonable.
want to hold a phone in your hand because you are an addict and you need a
Yeah.
fix, the No Phone is
Yep.
your solution. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is freaking genius. And I think they sold them, and I think they sold a lot of them. It's called the No Phone. You should totally check it out. It's really
That's
cool.
hysterical. That reminds me of one of those first apps that was like anti-phone, where I can't remember the name of the app or anything, but it was something that essentially tapped into the accelerometer on people's phones, and the higher that you threw your phone, the more points you would get. And it was internationally launched, and people just threw their phones high. Obviously, the goal of the developer is just to smash and break people's phones. That was the purpose of it. Hysterical. But I think that was technically I could be totally wrong. I think that was the first app that Apple banned from the App Store, just because they were like, please don't make people break their phones, please.
There was another funny app that the Apple App Store banned early on, and it was just I'm Rich, and it was the most
God.
expensive. It was
Yeah.
the most expensive
Big
app you could
plans.
buy, and you would
Didn't
buy
do
it, and it
anything.
was just a gem, like a picture of a gem that would appear on your phone, and it was literally for people to brag about how rich
Absolutely
they were,
stupid.
and they sold a ton of them.
Oh, they did.
Like, good on them. And then Apple was
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. I don't think so.
Fine.
Uh,
Continuing on with Gary,
Gary, check this
the arm on
out.
my yeah, he's been busy posting. The arm on my computer chair was missing a spacer. 10 minutes later, I flipping love this kind of stuff, where it's just super duper simple stuff that solves just silly little problems. I absolutely dig this, and he printed this on a carbon fiber sheet, which I want to see so much more of that.
I remember early days of carbon fiber. I wonder what nozzle he's printing on, because
No,
when
no,
I
no,
tried
no,
to.
no. The build plate is carbon fiber.
Oh,
And so then when you break it off, it actually has the carbon fiber
has that?
texture on it.
Oh, that's genius. I
Yeah.
was gonna say, because I tried to print out some carbon fiber filament, and I just basically instantly chewed up my nozzle and made a mess.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
just could
You
not
need
get
to
it to
have
work
a
well. You need a
ruby
ruby
tip
tip,
or a steel. Yeah.
good old hardened steel.
Yeah. Dude, this is
This is
awesome.
great. Yeah, and Derry, I think I just love those simple solutions to problems you have around the house.
Hmm.
Just the best. Kid Snicket. So that is Cadence here in the chat, our friend at the museum. Kids always stealing stuff. Imagine that.
Kids
No
at the
way.
museum keep stealing our globes that we used to show different sides between the sun and the earth. Is this the earth? Or is this the sun?
I don't know.
I don't know. Do you know I really love, Josh? And this is gonna be very, very tangential, so don't worry about it. I really love the science side where people make like very tangible connections between like scale of things. Where it's like, oh, the a floating speck of dust is exactly halfway between the size of an atom's nucleus and the sun. And it's like, God, that's so insane. Or like the stalk of an apple is, if the apple was the Earth, that's the distance that the ISS is orbiting around it. I absolutely adore that kind of
I
stuff.
dig that stuff too.
The
I
only
do.
the only one that I actually kind of hate is when they're like, "Oh, you can fit 100 Earths in Jupiter." I'm like, are you trying to explain the bigness of something with
With
something else
something
that's
this
also
giant.
gigantic that I can't that I also can't?
I always liked, you know which one I liked? I liked the Avogadro's number analogies where they would talk about either
Oh, I
like
don't know that.
stacking paper clips and how many times you could go back and forth to the moon with stacked paper clips of Avogadro's number. It's
Oh,
ridiculous.
I actually
Yeah,
don't know that one.
there was a couple TED talks about that too. So
Do
yeah,
you want to
I'm
explain
right
what
on with you.
Avogadro's number is to the non-chemists in the room?
Avogadro's number 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, right? It's a description. It was like there's such a large number. When you have such a large number of things, you have to break it down. I actually don't. It's funny. Like I'm out of practice of now
Is it the
thinking
it's the
about
amount of
science.
atoms in a mole, which is a
Correct.
standardized unit of material,
That's correct.
regardless of its element? Is that
Yep.
about right?
That's about
Okay.
right. That's about right. Yeah, but it's funny because like I used
Where
to
did I
think
pull
about
that
this
from?
stuff all the time. I haven't thought about it in now like 10 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my brain's just like, I don't know. I could learn that again if I needed to. My brain, I don't know about your brain, but mine does a really excellent job of booting out information I no longer use.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
the
Yep.
cleaning mechanism up here, 10 out of
Yeah.
10. So
But retaining information, terrible.
terrible.
Absolutely awful.
You and I think I would say you and I are both pretty decent at learning new stuff. And I think
Yeah.
part of I
I hope
wonder like
so.
how much of learning new things is how what does a cleaning cycle in your brain look like? Is it like does it just get it's like, no, no, no,
It's
no. If we're gonna make room for the new stuff, we're just gonna boot some of this unused stuff out. Like I
I
wonder, are
completely
people's
disagree
memories
because I will hold on to useless lyrics. I
Yeah.
know every single lyric to songs I actually don't care about at all. At all.
Music does stick in my brain as well. Music
But
really
not even good music. Like
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any of the lyrics to any Nirvana song, but I can write down every single lyric to super bass. You know, like why? Why? Hate it. Anyway, um,
Sound.
going
Alright.
back to going back to the Discord. Whoops. Very very quickly. Yeah, printing globes is also really really tricky. So this looks rad. And then sanding down the
So, Cadence says that,
uh,
by the way, that's the Earth, the dome globe is the sun.
oh, that's really quite nice actually. Okay, yep. The dome globe is their planetarium, which is obviously uh planetarium sized.
Oh, thanks, Jake.
Rad.
That's, yeah, very useful.
Well,
It's like,
it's the size of a large building, but it's a dome. We've all been to museums. Come on. Um, Coming up with Azel finally printing a beard comb. I love this kind of stuff. Printing combs and like little plastic things when you first get into 3D printing and kind of going, oh my god, I could make anything with this machine. And then you look around at all the plastic stuff in the world. There's a lot of it, especially in stores where you go, oh, it's something that I want to buy, and then oh no, I can just 3D print it and I can find the file for free. It is such a game changer. In a similar vein, when people are getting into CAD or especially Fusion, when they already have a 3D printer, and we introduce the idea of McMaster car components, where they're going, okay, I can bring in a bolt, I can bring in a washer, great, that's helpful. But then they realize, like, oh no, there's actually the plastic parts that they sell are also downloadable, and I can just 3D print it. And it's like, yeah, you can. Like, there's no one stopping you from taking the file for the thing you're about to buy and just 3D printing it. And it feels a little bit like piracy, but it's not. It feels great. So
yeah.
making little plastic stuff, yeah, I dig that. Absolutely dig that. And then this is from I'm completely forgetting that name. Oh, from Mazel. A little enclosure that he's printing at the moment. I have not read through this. I totally will, Mazel. What is this that you're making? Oh, what could that be? That's got to fit somewhere fairly unique. It's got to screw into the wall. Got to hold a bunch of stuff. I don't know what that is, Azal. I am totally looking forward to what it will be. I think that is the end of the Discord. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and then some of the stuff we talked about last time. I know that we had Connie making some progress. She had finished
Yes, she did.
the what did she finish? She finished the Ender 3 Hot End, I saw, right?
Which
Yeah.
is not an easy project.
Not easy.
I do quite like how tricky that is. That's always one of my favorites.
Yep.
Okay, so one thing that we also wanted to announce, we have just launched our Tinkercad course, Josh.
We have just launched our Tinkercad course alongside of HL ModTech. Did you know that HL ModTech has created 4,600 videos?
That's
4,600. And he does it every single
so
day.
many.
And I don't think you skipped a day in years.
Oh,
And
no.
when you talk to him on the phone, we've spent a lot of time talking to him on the phone. He is so fired up about making tutorials for Tinkercad. It's funny, like he's so fired up about making Tinkercad tutorials that he's, even though he's started learning some of our Fusion course, he's like, yeah, but I just kind of enjoy making things. And Jake, I want to talk about one of the differences between the idea that you and I have around designing things and the one that he's presented me with, because I think it's pretty fascinating. So
Okay.
with Fusion 360, when you go in to design something, at least when I go in to design something, most of the things that I'm designing in Fusion 360, I'm designing to solve some problem in my life. It's a thing that I desire to have in the real world. And so I get in there and I'm like, let me just make the thing so that I can solve my problem. The light switch that I did a while back, the little kickstand assist, all these little things that we do. I think you and I agree on that. With Tinkercad, his whole philosophy is designing for the sake of designing. The design is the end goal, not necessarily the thing you make. So he was a little bit resistant early on, even to make things that were 3D printed or laser cut, because he felt that it took away from the design process itself. So he is like completely fired up. And I think there's an analogy here with something like Minecraft, where you get into this Minecraft universe and the whole goal is to make a digital thing that exists in this Minecraft universe. So where I think his philosophy really differs from ours, and something that I think people will get out of this, regardless of whether or not you've gone through our Fusion course, is it's design for the sake of design itself. It's simply playing and tinkering. Now, these
That
things
does feel
can be
quite
practical. These things
Yeah.
can be practical, right? You can still 3D print stuff. You can still laser cut stuff. You can still, like, there's still reasons to do it. But he's just like, I just like being able to pull designs in, animate them, take them into the sim lab, bowl stuff over, launch it off the edge of a ramp. Like, he is all about design for the sake of designing. And I've got to say, there's a beauty to that. I really enjoy it.
I can't subscribe to that because I enjoy the physical making so much, and I know. I mean, I treat it just like drafting or sketching an idea, but I don't. In my mind, I don't treat it as a segregation. I don't go, oh, I'm CADing or designing something so that I can make it in real life. Excuse me. It is all a part of the making process. Like, whenever I'm making a design that I know I'm going to be, making in real life, a really good example would be if I have some really kick-ass idea about like a wooden vase that I would like to turn on the lathe. I'm designing it in CAD purely just so I can get the measurements. I'm not making it, excuse me, in its absolutia. I'm making it purely from.
wait,
Yeah,
wait. And it's absolutia. I'm gonna have to check this one after we go. I don't think that's a word.
that's a word. That's
I think
Latin as
you
well.
just what's it called? What's it called? Is a portmanteau when you smash two words together? Absolute
That's absolutely a
minutia,
word.
absolutia. That's great.
Absolutia. That's definitely a
Okay,
word. Anyway,
continue.
I completely use it as a tool to then get the next thing in the same, in a more simplistic way. If I'm working on a dead simple woodworking project, a jig for something, I'm not going to make a CAD model for it, but I'll certainly have to measure something and write down all the dimensions and make a quick little sketch of how big this box or this wedge or this circle needs to be. It's the exact same thing for me. So I still get the satisfaction and the enjoyment out of it. I think that's definitely an extra thing on top of it. Getting the fizz, the juice, the excitement from the CAD is the exact same feeling that I get when I make it in real life. So those things are continuous for me, but
Nice. Yeah, I
maybe
think
not for everyone.
no,
I
I
mean,
think especially the thing that I've come around to lately is, we've been working now with students and people all over the world, and learning Fusion, even though we've tried to break it down and make it as simple as possible, is still pretty tricky. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
one of the things I like about Tinkercad is this, and we talk about this a lot too, is this ability to get this instant gratification that I think our society and our culture has really made us desire. Is you get into Tinkercad, you pull a shape in, you've got an instant three-dimensional object. It's just like your brain goes, I can do it. I can do it. I got
Yeah.
the feedback necessary to keep doing this. I also think it's an excellent way to introduce the even more fundamental and simple concepts of CAD that you and I just kind of glossed over, like what is an X, Y, and Z axis, right? I
Mm.
wouldn't want to go into serious and tons of depth about that in our Fusion 360 book. But at the same time, if I'm introducing a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, or a 10-year-old, or even an adult for that matter, to something they haven't really thought about a lot in their lives. Like you may have seen an X, Y, and Z axis in math class. That's one thing to see it in math
And
class, but it's
that may have been decades ago,
decades ago, but it's
people.
completely different to understand what's actually happening along these axes and then to translate in your brain what's happening in 2 dimensions to what's happening in 3 dimensions. So I think for those reasons, and Serdar says this, I like his videos, short and sweet. He's got so many videos on his channel, right? HL Mod Tech does, that if you wanted a structured, easy way to go about learning Tinkercad through his channel, it would be very difficult to sort out what video do I do next? What functionality do I want to know next? Have I actually explored the whole program, right? Things like this. Another thing I want to talk about Tinkercad. There is a couple of reasons I think people that are in Fusion should still play around with Tinkercad at a high level. And one of those reasons is the electronic prototyping capabilities inside of Tinkercad.
Mm.
When you're
It
able
has
to pull
pre-built-in Arduino.
when you're able to pull an Arduino in and hook up a resistor and start to make your lights work, what it does is it allows your brain to realize, okay, I don't just have to be a maker that makes physical plastic objects. I can also be somebody who makes first digital electronic objects, and then I can actually purchase an Arduino. I've got the full wiring diagram in front of me. I can do what I just did on the computer screen, including export the code that I just made using either
Mhm.
Scratch or Python or whatever coding language you want to use. I can export that all, and I can light an LED up. I can actuate a sensor when somebody opens the door. I can spin a motor when something happens, right? And so it allows you to start to play around with these logic games, I think. And so that's, to me, I used to write tutorials for Arduino. And when I started writing these tutorials, I used Fritzing. It was called
That's
Fritzing.
right, I
It was a
remember that.
program that you could play around with some of this stuff. And by the end of the time that I was making these tutorials, I made them all in Tinkercad because
Mm.
Tinkercad was so much better at showing off, like pulling in components and connecting to other components and pulling in the wires. And they had all the basic functionality there. It was like absolutely unbelievably amazing. So for those of you who do want to play around with electronics and feel a little bit intimidated by the whole process, you maybe don't know where to start, right? Tinkercad can be a really nice, like low barrier to entry way to start playing around. Not You don't have to spend any money. It's completely free. It works in your browser. It works on a phone. It works on not very well on a phone, but it does work on a phone. But it also works on an iPad. It'll work on a Chromebook. It'll work on anything like that. So, yeah. So if you are interested in the Tinkercad lessons, we just as usual, we always give away those free lessons there at the beginning. It's fun to at least play around. And if you know somebody in your life, you've got some kids, you're trying to introduce to Tinkercad, like Serdar is down there. He works with
Get
an
him
after school
hooked.
program.
Get him hooked on
Um,
CAD.
definitely sign up for that class, at least for the free preview, and check out his videos. And we'll be making that better and better over time with your suggestions. So when you do sign up for those
Gosh, your audio
classes,
sounds insane again.
it sounds bad.
Oh, there we go. It went so low pitch and then so high pitch and then back to normal again.
What is up with us in audio? Usually my audio
I
is
don't know.
fine.
I know.
Anyways, that's enough. That's enough us
We have
talking
capacity.
about
Yeah,
this
I
stuff. Check it out. Grab the free preview and let us know what you think. We'd love to know.
know. I've been busy. I've been making a lot of stuff and I want to show it off.
Please.
One thing that I really want to
Oh, hang on just one moment, Jake. I want you
what's
to
that?
talk about this. We've got something really important to announce right now.
Oh,
Did you see? Just look what popped into the Discord. See if you notice it. Pull it up.
On the Discord?
Yep.
Under which channel?
Space Prop Hilt.
Oh, did someone just finish?
Somebody.
Yay!
That somebody.
There we go.
Is Derry. Congratulations.
Dude.
It looks like you've just completed the entire program. A huge round of applause. Can I play some music for that? Let's try. We're going to play some music. So. No, we're not going to play music.
We're so techie. We are so advanced.
Here we go. Let's do some dance pop. Oh, that's terrible.
Josh, this sounds good.
How do we...
Anyway, congratulations, Derry. Dude, absolutely rad. That's awesome.
Music.
That last project is intense. Like, that took me a genuinely long time to make in real life. Yeah. And then to make it in CAD is absolutely still a feat. We hope it is all encompassing of a project, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. Congratulations, Derry.
I am, just so you know, Derry, so in addition to the round of applause, you are now getting the CADclass graduate tag, which means that your opinion matters more than other people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Actually, it's a really nice way for us to show off who's completed the program. I think the chat will agree with us here. It's motivation for you all to continue. I see Maple Leaf Makers say, I really need to get back to the book, right? So really, this is our way to guilt you into completing everything, I think is the answer. So congratulations, Derry. Absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for being in the program, and we hope you continue. We talked about this last week, Jake, and then we can hop into the other one. But now that you've completed the book, it's super interesting to go back and do some of the projects again, because what you learn,
do some of the challenges. I think more importantly,
definitely the challenges. But what you learn after going through the book means that the second time that you read it, you are not the same human being you were the first time you read it. So what you get out of a second read is completely different from the first time you went through it. So if you are finished, it's such a long book. Recommend going through some of those projects again, and those aha moments where you go, oh, I see why they did it like that, will come more and more frequently. So anyways, really, really nicely done, Jake. I did interrupt you, but Derry's a little bit more important when he graduates a program.
Whatever. I've been working on so many just rando projects over the week. We'll be posting them as shorts in a week or two. But I just wanted to go over some of the frustrations, some of the CAD, kind of give you a live version of this. Okay. Josh, what is this tool?
Looks like a hex wrench.
Would you be more specific, please?
What do you mean more specific?
What's the name of this tool? So we know it's a hex wrench, but this is a T-handled hex wrench.
Oh, okay.
This is one of my most used tools that I have in my shop. I've got a full set of them.
PC VLP says Tesla logo.
He's not wrong. I mean, it's fairly close.
Joe Street says T-handle Allen wrench. Allen.
Yes.
Screw Allen.
For everyone who is vaguely interested in this kind of stuff, an Allen key is a brand name. It's not the name of the tool. It is a hex wrench. For the one person that was interested by that. So I have a full set of these in the Imperial and the Metric. I use them absolutely all the time on all of my builds that I have. And the holder that came with this was tragically awful. Absolutely miserable. And so the first thing I ever did was to make a little rack so these can actually hold in place. It's just a super duper simple 3D printed little holder. Holds them all in place, makes them nice and easy to kind of take out and then pop back in. I don't know if you can tell by the video, if I can actually get it in focus. But it starts off with just a little bit of a tolerance off of a normal hexagon, and then it lofts into a larger hexagon, and then there's a little rib that holds them all together, and then a little base. But the thing that has bugged me for so long is that I cannot stand that. I don't know if that bugs anyone else. Oh my God, that is Jake, so annoying to me.
You're making me realize this is a great start to a video. It's just the rattling and then the way you just the rattling. This is like the ASMR version of the video, but like the rattle and then the brushing along the edge there, and then like
I hate it.
Right? Like
I hate it. And
I honestly
so
think that would be an amazing start to a video. So
whatever. So this is now this is now officially me wanting to improve this, but now printing with a different machine. So I've been switching to doing most of my prints on my Prusa. I've normally always done it on a Creality machine, and that has different types of tolerances that come with it. Usually, every single Creality machine that I've had, if you want a fairly tight fit, had a 0.5 offset. If you want a nice loose fit, sliding fit, then you'd make it a 1mm offset. And that's worked perfectly fine. But now that I'm now playing around with a little bit more of an accurate machine that can throw down better layers, tighter, etc., etc., I'm now having to run so many more tests with this. And so I've been printing out a bunch of these that are just ever so slightly different sized, and just kind of creeping into exactly what are the differences in the tolerances to all of this. So I've been going over all of this project for so long, and I'm finally going to be remaking it. This has been on my list of stuff to do for so long. And officially, 0.25, too tight. Or it's fine, tiny bit of a wobble, but that is just stiff as can be for much smaller little bits where it actually holds in place.
is there a magnet
Don't
at the
like it.
bottom?
There is no magnet. I may embed it because I now have a new place that's going to fit on my tool cart. But that is one of the projects that I've been meaning to do for so long. I feel like I have so many of those. Is that just me, or are shops?
No, I think it's not
I
just you. I think the so what happens, I believe that I think creativity is a muscle. And
Yeah.
it's like writing, but like, you know, the more you write, the more ideas for writing that you get. The more
Mm.
projects you create, the more ideas for projects you get. I think the same applies to business as well. The more businesses you either start or think about starting or come up with ideas to start, the more business ideas that you have. So I think it's pretty normal is the more you work on these things, the more ideas you have and the less time you have to do them because you get more and more every day.
I think that's fairly right. The creativity that I get out of CAD is, I think, directly proportional to the tech that I have. I think I as soon as I have more and more toys to play with, I get more and more ideas to the point where
I'm gonna cut
I
you
feel like
off.
most.
I'm gonna-
I feel
You're
like,
cut off.
oh, can you not hear me?
No, no, no. I'm saying I'm gonna cut you off from new toys.
Oh,
I need you know, I need landing page videos.
I know. Yeah, I feel like I have most of the stuff that I make in my shop is for my shop, not actual projects that I want to work on. I think I feel like that's the majority stuff. But the other thing that I'm going to end up doing as well, I didn't make this, but I did steal it from Thingiverse, is a very, very tiny little Squidward's house that I've been wanting to make for so long. Look how cute that is.
Oh,
I
that's
know,
cool.
isn't that nice? I don't know if you can tell the texture, but this is printed in marble PLA.
I can tell a little bit,
I
yeah.
I cannot see any layer lines on this really. This is such a rad little print. I love it. So I'm going to be building a little terrarium for him to live in because I finally found some real alive moss near where I live, which is fairly rare. Fairly rare. Um, I've been wanting to make a terrarium for so long, and I'm finally going to do it. Um, the other thing is I'm probably going to be putting out kind of a longer form video about how to make a cryptext. This is a
You're
project
out
that
of oh, yeah, nice.
that I absolutely love. I love this little cryptext. The whole idea is that it's got a bunch of these little spinning dials on it that have different letters on it, and as soon as you find the correct name, then it unlocks. This is my Star Wars themed one, so the actual key should be fairly easy to guess. But I love this little thing. This is not easy to make, but there's not that many bits to it. It's a really phenomenal, right down the middle intermediate project to do. So if you guys want to see a video about this, pop it in the chat, and we very well may make it in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's one of the longer form videos I want to be doing.
I like it. I've always liked
The
puzzles and locks. Like you've liked them more than I
yeah,
have. You were a lock picker at one point in your life. You
I
studied
was. Yeah.
some techniques of lock picking.
I'm no
If you've
good with
never
it.
seen the lock picking lawyer, I highly recommend his videos on YouTube. I could just
Yeah.
watch those videos all day. It's so satisfying to like, not even necessarily, I think to do it as well, but this idea that you're using your fine motor skills to figure out what things feel like and in a really precise way so that you can open locks is like pretty fun. And he does a nice job. He's got this like soothing voice and then just breaks into all the locks in what looks like magical
A
fashion.
millisecond.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I've never I think I've only ever been able to undo like a 3-pin padlock, like a little luggage my a lock for my own luggage, by the way. Um, and it took me like an hour to do. But because I was so obsessed with Harry Houdini and escapology when I was a kid, I can get out of a pair of handcuffs with a paperclip in like 10 seconds. That's one of my lame claim to fame. I can do that so quickly, um, which is a great little party trick. Unfortunately, if you try and pull out a pair of handcuffs at a bar, you're a weirdo.
It's a
So
little
it's not.
strange.
I know
Yeah.
it's not the kind of thing that I get to show off. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of weird skills like that that I never get to show off. Anyway, so one thing that was posted on the Discord that I actually want to approach fairly organically. Somebody posted a video to the oh gosh, what is it? The Autodesk Fusion YouTube page, where they just put out a video about them talking about the differences between the Move tool and the Align tool. And I watched it kind of gingerly because I have never used the Align tool, really. It's always been a tool where I'm like, it does the same thing as the Move tool, but it has less features. And I really never kind of dove into it whatsoever. And I watched the video and I'm like, okay, so I kind of get it. So it's using the logic of joints and joint origins and pinpoints. I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. And it's just using that for a different purpose. Okay. Why it needs to be two separate tools, I still don't really understand. It's not like extrude and press pull where there's two different reasons, but it's kind of a funky one. And so I wanted to just make a little example, just kind of explore it organically, if that's all right.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I also want your commentary about it as well at the same time, because I'm sure I'm going to be doing it very not correctly. So the whole idea with the move command, where is it? Here we go. It's under modify. Move is that you can essentially treat it just like importing any item, image, STL, SVG, anything like that. Where, as you can see in this preview, it's got a little dot at center where you can move it around. Click on the squares to actually move it within a plane, pull it along an axis, or rotate it. So anything you want to do for that. The align is moving components, bodies, sketches, etc., but using similar logic to joints, as I said. So I just want to do a little bit of experiment just to kind of see if there's any difference, if there's any reason that I should switch over. So first thing I'm going to do is just make two very simple bits of geometry. I'll just call something 1. I'll just make a little cube. Yeah, we'll make this 20 by 20 by 20. Lovely. And then I'll make a second component after activating the top one. I'll just call this 2. Cool. And this one can be a little cylinder. Yep, I'll make it on the top face. I'll make it over here. Again, 20. Yep, by 20. Rad. Okay. This is just another little trick for anyone who's brand new to Fusion. If you really hate the kind of gray, dull steel appearance, if this is really boring to you, you can just type Shift N, and it just adds different colors to it. So I believe this is in the inspect. Yeah, display color components. So it just makes every single component a little bit more of a distinct, different color, and it also applies to all of your tabs up top. So now if I go back into the Cryptex, whatever it's called, now all of the components inside are different colors, and it just makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on without having to individually change the color of every single component. So that's the idea with this. Okay, so currently I've got two separate components. None of them are grounded. I'll just undo that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and fix the ground the cube in place, so now only the cylinder can move. So in the past, if I wanted to move, if I wanted to move this cylinder, let's say that the origin of this circle was on that point, but I didn't want to make a joint, then I would go ahead and use the move tool. Just really quickly, just before we go into the align tool, I would go into the assemble. I would say I want to make a joint, the center of the circle, and that point on that face. And it would move it, and there you go. That's what I'm looking for. Fantastic. And as soon as I click cancel, obviously it moves because there is now no joints. But this is still movable. I would go into modify, move. I would say, okay, which body or component? Well, it's going to be this one right here. I would click on 2. I would actually make it components and then click on 2, just so it highlights the entire thing. Then it's going to say, okay, what move type do you want? Do you want it to actually free move? So this is where you have all the options for rotating, anything like that. Very handy. Translate, so it just moves it up, down, left, right, front, back. Rotate, so it only gives you those 3 axes options. Point to point or a point to position, which, as far as I know, are fairly similar. So you could say the center of that point, the target point would be over there, and so it just snaps in place. Point to point is usually the most useful one that I found. I really don't use point to position very often. Like the point, I would say, oh, the center of there, or sorry, the point of there, and then the position. Oh gosh, this is different. Yeah, again, I really don't use it all that often. Point to point is basically the only thing I ever do. If I've got some STL like this, oh, excuse me, then the only thing I'm really ever doing is selecting a point and then snapping it to the origin, just so it's, instead of floating in free space, it's actually locked down. That is usually the only thing I'm doing. But there's now the align tool, and I feel like I should learn it just so I know it, but then if I can learn more about it, put it into a nice package, and then I can teach all of you guys. So the align tool, and I genuinely have not opened this. So let's say I'm going to do the exact same thing. So the objects I want to move is the component. Great. The from, that's going to be this point to that point over there. Oops, make sure you get on the right page. And then I now have the option of flipping it, which is quite nice because I don't think I have that ability. And then the angle as well. Interesting. I'm not sure what that does either. Let's try a different example. I'm going to be creating a new component. Yeah, component 3, that's fine. Let's make another box. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just make it over here. I'll make it 20 by... Yeah, that's fine. Little skinny thing. Actually, no, I lied. I'm going to make it a little bit wider. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with that. So go into align. Yep, components is what I want. Let's say this bottom point on that bottom point, diagonally, angularly touching. Let's say, yep, that point right there, but on that face. And then that point right there. Oops, on that face. There we go. Lovely. Oh, strange. So it's actually flipped it at that point. Oh, that's very, very strange. It's flipping between 2 different seminal axes. That's very weird. And the angle. What the hell? Oh, it rotates it in 90 degrees. Okay, all right. I can get down to that a little bit. It's not perfect for me because I do want kind of point to point, but maybe it's just that it's not close enough. So if I get it a little bit closer, yeah, let's try that again. Oops. Not that. Oh gosh. Nope. Get out of here. What was it? Align. Yep. I would like that point on that face. Lovely. To that point on that face. Very weird. So it doesn't do point to point. Only does edge to edge.
Oh,
very interesting.
Wait, there you go. Yeah. No, I did it.
Oh, hey. Funky. Okay, so it's got to be some combination of the flip and the angle.
So
is wrong.
Maple Leaf Maker says, I use a line when I want two faces to be in the same plane without moving the part on any other
That's a good one.
axis.
That's a
Yep.
good one.
Yep.
But usually it means that I'm doing that because I'm adding a joint between these two components.
Hmm.
I so rarely use the move tool. The only time I ever really use the move tool is to copy something. So you could type M for move, select that component, create a copy, and then pull it out. That's really the only time I ever use copy, you know?
Mm.
Funky. Yeah, and then it's still not attached because it's just moved. Very interesting. I guess it falls into the category of like another string to my bow, but I can't think of when it would be like super duper useful to use. Sorry, outside of just using a joint, can you think of anything, Josh?
No, not really. I think it's just a different workflow. I would use typically, yeah. We do have a question in here, FYI, about Chapter 6 Fire Piston. So when we're done, if we've got a couple minutes, we can talk about that.
Absolutely. I just want to do the same command with the move tool really quick to see if it's any easier. So the way that I would do this is I would want to change the bodies, point to point. Between this component. My origin point is going to be there. Target point is going to be there. And then it just snaps. So to me, that's a million times easier. But yeah, I'm still not 100% sure where the benefit is in using one over the other. That may be my homework. That may be the what I actually want to investigate with that. Anyway, okay. But we had a question on the fire piston.
Yeah, it says, printed by John says, I have a question for Chapter 6 with the fire piston.
Let's hear it.
When you first draw the sketch, I can never get it to look like the one in the book. I'll put in one dimension and it will change the other ones.
Is that the first dimension?
I think what's happening, printed by John, may be that your scale is a little funky on the fire piston. So if you draw something like really big,
the fire piston or the hot end?
Fire piston. I have a question for Chapter 6 with the fire piston. When you first draw the sketch, I can never get it to look like the one in the book. I will put in one dimension and it will change the other one.
Very interesting.
I wonder if it's just the scale of the actual drawing that might be the problem here.
It might be the scale. So the whole point of it's with the piston body. That's the first component that we go over. And then Shift N to get rid of that.
Check that sketch out.
So the point of the first sketch is that it just has a lot of little intricacies in it, mainly the step in there, getting some constraints looking really good and proper. But messing around with the scale, that's something that you can kind of fix in preferences. So if I make a new sketch on the front plane, and it's, if I zoom in really, really big, make a normal size line, and then say, oh no, this actually needs to be, 100 millimeters, it stays in frame. It doesn't zoom out to accommodate that new size, which is a preference, I believe. But I just updated my Fusion, so I don't think that preference carries along into the update. So I think it should be a good time to try and find that. So that's going to be into preferences, design, not auto project. Oh, yeah, scale entire sketch at first dimension. This may be exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to apply that, click OK. Let's delete that line. So I'm going to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, make a normal size line. Yep. So this says it's only 3 millimeters, but I'm going to say 100. And there we go.
Oh, that's nice.
Size.
That's nice. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. There's a ton of really good tools in preferences that people simply don't know about. But yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. So highly, highly recommend enabling that. Again, for everyone who missed that, that is in your preferences under the design stage. Scale entire sketch at first dimension. Super duper handy. Again, I think we talked about this last week. I recommend that everyone just goes through all of these settings in the preferences. Most of them, especially the network or the the display or anything like that. Most of them, at least for me, are things that I simply don't understand at all, and so I really won't even touch them. But a lot of them are fairly simple to understand, especially in the design sector. So absolutely mess around with it. It should make for a much nicer CAD experience. Maybe that's your homework. For this week, go into the preferences, take a look through all of the settings, and try and find at least one thing that either speeds up your Fusion experience, makes it a better quality, or just makes it more enjoyable to actually mess around with it. Because having to zoom in and zoom out is always a massive pain in the ass. But for anyone who is actually in this same quandary where they accidentally zoomed in too much or potentially zoomed out too much, if at any point something that you're working on is out of frame or tiny, click the little house icon and it puts it right back into frame.
Yeah, and I think
Obviously at the wrong angle, but
clicking and
still.
dragging around any blue line can be dragged around. So one of the most useful tips is if your sketch doesn't look like the one in the photo, just click and drag the blue lines around until it does. And then edit a dimension, redrag those blue lines, edit a dimension again, redrag those blue lines, because it happens early in the book. And I think we mentioned it a couple times, but it's, this is one of those workflows that you have to kind of get yourself into. Sometimes we'll draw something that's completely out of scale. And when you add a dimension, the rest of the drawing looks all wonky. And my brain goes wonky alongside of it. I'm like, this doesn't look like anything like I'm supposed to be doing right now. My brain goes, blah, blah, blah. It's like static up in there. So just try clicking and dragging those blue lines around while adding dimensions to the other points, and just continue to make it look like that. And eventually your scale will be correct. It will scale down and you should be able to get it looking like what it is in the book.
I totally agree. All right, guys.
So do I sketch the whole thing? Yeah. So do I sketch the whole thing and then add the dimensions? Usually that is the workflow that we use. So the basic idea is that when you want to make something new in Fusion, do not think about anything except for the basic geometry and sketch it as quickly as possible. It's like kind of like the idea of a rough draft and then refinement into the final product. Where I think a lot of people go wrong is they want that final product from the start. And then it takes you all this time to add the dimensions as you go, and you're kind of stringing yourself along there. Just get the basic geometry on the page as quickly as you can possibly get it on the page, and then worry about dimensioning and moving lines and editing and adding angles and all that stuff later.
Yeah. This is the process that my CAD professors would call CAD vomit.
CAD vomit.
Where you just throw down all of the information really quickly and then clean it up with dimensions and constraints.
Oh, yeah, and PC Van Vliet says, do be careful with drawing off of the origin auto constraints and all. So sometimes constraints can be an issue. And if you draw something parallel or if you to another line, sometimes it will assume that it's parallel. If you draw it on an axis, Fusion will make assumptions about what you want to do with those lines. So that's great advice, is just be careful about where you draw things. And sometimes drawing it away from the origin and not on defined geometry is going to help you edit that final sketch and not have to delete constraints that have been automatically applied.
Totally agree.
Excellent.
Our process really has always been the same. It's throw down all of this sketch, add in as many constraints as you can, which will make all of your dimensions, or will make it much fewer dimensions that you need, and then finally add on any adjustments like fillets or chamfers, and then Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. I wonder if that's maybe that's also a good one pager for the next edition.
I agree. Yeah,
that's a really nice little design thinking process inside of Fusion. So I love it. Anyways, this has been the CADclass podcast. Again, I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
It's been great to see you all, and we will see you next week.
See you
Adios.
Guys. Adios.